All right, good evening. At this time, we would like to welcome you to the Xenia City Council regular meeting for Thursday, February 9th, 2023. We will have an invocation. Tonight's invocation will be led by Mayor Sarah Mays, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Cody Branham. If you would please rise.
So join me in prayer, please. Our gracious Lord, we are thankful for a time to gather and to care for the city that you have allowed us to be stewards of. Father, we acknowledge you, and we are thankful for each person that is here, because there is no mistake when you put us all together. God, I pray for us as a council that we will listen carefully and speak carefully and think with clear wisdom. We pray for those in attendance tonight that they would participate well with us. Father, we pray for our fire and police who are out tonight, caring for our city and looking out for the folks in this community, for our hospital workers. There's a lot of people with a lot of needs. God, may we be gracious and kind, and we ask for protection for those who are caring for the community right now. We give all this to you in your holy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Mays. Thank you, Councilman Branham. At this time, I'll call our meeting to order and ask our city clerk for a roll call, please.
Vice President Smith?
Here.
Councilman Scrivens?
Here.
Councilwoman Dean? Here. Councilman Branham?
Here.
Councilman Dean?
Here.
Mayor Mays? Here. President Urschel?
All right, at this time, I will make a motion to excuse President Urschel due to hospice care for a immediate relative. So at this time, I will make that motion and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seek a roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes. This is from our January 26, 2023 regular meeting. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes into the record.
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Councilwoman Dean. Do we have a second? Seconded by Councilman Scrivens. Is there any additions, corrections, notations that need to be made regarding the minutes? Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any, so at this time we'll accept a roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Abstain.
Mayor Mays? Abstain. President Smith?
Aye.
Vice President Smith?
Thank you. There's no special presentation scheduled for tonight's regular meeting, so we'll move right into audience comments. This is the portion of the meeting where anyone in the audience is surely welcome to come to the podium and address City Council. If you could, limit your comments 2 to 3 minutes and state your name and record, or name and address, for the record. So whoever would like to come forward. Hi.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Lisa Hunter. My address is 2451 Miami Village Drive in Miamisburg, Ohio, Miami Township. I do not live in the Xenia community, but my husband Alan and I most recently, as of Saturday, February 4th, opened up a new business at 501 West 2nd Street. The business is a laundromat. It's laundry time. I'm coming before you tonight to speak to you in regards to a problem that appears to be within the community with the homeless and the drug addicts. We have only been open for 5 full days and have had a handful of issues at our business already. The homeless coming in to just hang out, homeless coming in and drinking alcohol in our business, the homeless coming in and hanging out for hours, leaving us graffiti, theft of signs, riding a bicycle throughout our business, along with what just appears to be casing out our business. We have called Xenia Police Department already on numerous occasions to assist us with this. They have been great in helping us. They have been there within minutes to help us out and done just that. This kind of behavior is unacceptable to us. Had we known before we decided to invest almost $250,000 in this business for your residents and your community we would have given it a second thought. We have owned a 24/7 laundromat, which is unattended in Middletown, Ohio since 2010. It is in a more depressed area, in my opinion. To date, it remains very clean, very well established, and very viable. We have had some issues with the homeless there, but in the 12 years, it has been nothing like what I've seen in 5 days. Unfortunately, since we've opened, we have lost many nights' sleeps worrying over this, watching our cameras, watching video, contacting police. Now we are finding out that Bridges of Hope supports these types of people coming into your community. That they ship them in from surrounding counties and communities. And also, 3 doors down from our business, there are Bridges of Hope signs in the window. I wanted to address Councilman Urschel tonight, finding out that he is associated with that organization and find out exactly what that facility is going to be there. But I'm not able to do so. So if one of you might know, that would be helpful. We know there are plans for other businesses to come into your community, but how do you expect these businesses to be viable when this behavior is a constant? How do you expect them to thrive when this is going to be their constant worry? If Bridges of Hope goes in a few doors down from my business, I assure you, if there is issues, I'll be in that business daily. They will hear from me daily. My presence will be known daily. We have every intentions, my husband and I, of being very hands-on with our business. I know everyone keeps saying, well, the past laundromat. That was then, this is now. The owner of the laundromat before us, they weren't present. They weren't even in the state. There were 3 machines working washer-wise or dryer-wise, 5 washers working when we walked in there at the end of November and decided to do this. We have put all brand new equipment in there, a lot of money in there for your residents. It's a much needed facility for your community. But anyways, we're going to be very hands-on. If it doesn't stop, we'll be keeping your police department very busy. This is a business that your community is very much in need of. We did not invest our money so that our business for your residents is taken over by the homeless and the drug addicts, who you all who sit on council have allowed to come in to your community and do this to your community. And that's all I have to say about it. Thank you.
All right, anyone else care to come to the podium at this time? All right, seeing no one else, we'll move on to old business. Our first item in old business is ordinance 2023-02. This is titled a public hearing tonight. And this is approving the sale and a conveyance of city-owned property located at 130 East Church Street to Dr. Paul Saul. So this was introduced at our last meeting by Councilman Branham. At this time, we will open the public hearing and ask anyone in the audience if they would care to speak in favor of the sale of property at 130 East Church. Okay. If anyone in the audience would care to come forward and speak against the sale of property located at 130 East Church Street. For those in the audience, this is actually our former Senior Citizen Center. Okay. All right, seeing no one come forward, I am going to close the public hearing on this one and ask any of my colleagues if they have any questions. No? All right, this was introduced by Councilman Branham. Would you care to do so?
I'd like to move for passage.
Thank you. Move for passage by Councilman Branham. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by the mayor. Any further discussion? All right. This time we'll ask for a roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is new business. Our first item in new business is an ordinance. That's 2023-03. This is extending the moratorium on addiction treatment facilities established by ordinance 2022-31 for an additional 3 months. At this time, I want to turn the floor over to Mr. Merriman.
Thank you, sir. Staff believes it is in the community's best interest to extend the moratorium through approval of this ordinance in order to allow for some additional time to finalize recommended changes to our land development code. This would allow us to ensure that we are coming up with some effective and lawful legislative recommendations that council can consider implementing. As part of a comprehensive review on the matter that's occurred over the course of the winter, our staff has zeroed in on 2 key points. First, that addiction treatment is often interconnected with other social services. And second, that some of the perceived and actual concerns generated by addiction treatment uses are also generated by other social service users with presence in the community, many of which are currently grouped together under the same category in our land development code. Additionally, our analysis of service definitions and limitations set forth in state statutes related to addiction treatment and other social similar social services has really revealed to us a lot greater level of complexity with this. We thought it was less compartmentalized than it is. And for these reasons, we think it's necessary to take a little bit more time to make sure that what we bring back to recommend to council is more comprehensive and all-encompassing. I will tell you that I've been surprised at how much more complex this was, in large part because of statutory limitations than what I thought it was going to be. But I appreciate the efforts of the city planner and the law director in kind of shepherding this conversation to make sure that we're looking at this holistically. So again, the intent is to take a little more time to review this, develop a comprehensive set of recommendations, and that's taking a little bit more time than we anticipated. So with approval of this, it would allow us an extension of the moratorium, and I think the plan would be within 60 days after that to bring formal legislation back.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Merriman tonight regarding this introduction? All right, and not seeing anyone, who would care to introduce this?
I'll introduce.
Thank you. Introduced by Councilwoman Dean. Our next item is Resolution 2023-06. This is authorizing the purchase of a sewer inspection vehicle unit for Public Service Department through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program. So again, we'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Merriman to explain this purchase.
Thank you, sir. Staff is recommending council approval of a resolution that would authorize a replacement of our sewer inspection vehicle. The sewer inspection unit is one of the single most important pieces of equipment that we have that is used to help us diagnose problems before they become catastrophic problems and system failures. And usually when failures of our sanitary or storm sewer reach that catastrophic phase, it's much more costly than preventative measures that we could take. Our current system, while still operable, is 14 years old and insufficient both in terms of its mobility and its technological capacity. The unit can only traverse limited runs with very limited maneuverability. As a result, it must be removed and reset constantly from manhole to manhole as we do inspections. The current unit has the ability to inspect sewer lines of just up to 12 inches, which means our larger mains and stormwater in particular, we really can't effectively inspect those. The system recommended to replace the current unit has a much greater range. It can inspect sewer lines up to 30 inches, and the camera equipment and the software functions included greatly expand the data collection capabilities that we have. The reality is that at your instruction, we've set a higher expectation for our maintenance. We want more work done proactively to prevent, as I said, these catastrophic problems. And in order to do that, we want to make sure that we're giving our staff the tools that they need to be effective with that. we believe that the equipment that we're recommending would give us that leg up, help us to be more effective and really efficient in that process of doing the cameraing. We've been doing a lot more of this now than we have in the past, and so more than ever, this would be a valuable tool. If authorized, the newer sewer inspection vehicle would be purchased from MTech Company. This is listed with Ohio DAS Cooperative Purchasing Program, and the amount is $292,898.48. Those would be sewer fund resources, which is a pretty healthy fund for us. It's currently estimated that delivery time on the vehicle would be 90 to 120 days. And so we're recommending this evening approval of the resolution to authorize that purchase.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Merriman?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
he had answered my question. The useful life we expect to be about 15 years.
I think that's reasonable. Really, one of the bigger challenges now is the technology is advancing so much more rapidly. These are not systems that a lot of thought was put into the past, and with the enhancements in camera, GIS, the GIS functions that we can link to, those are the types of things that the old system we just don't have much capacity with. So, yeah, this will be good for at least a decade, probably more, and if anything, it'll again at some point be outpaced by newer technology.
Mr. President, this is the type of public expenditure that I'd like to approve. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Councilman Scrivens. Any other comments? All right, this time we'll seek a motion to authorize the purchase.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Scrivens. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilwoman Dean. Any further discussion? All right, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilman Scrivens?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Nay.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is item C, Resolution 2023-07. This is waiving competitive bidding for and authorizing the purchase of 3 marked vehicles from Lebanon Ford for the Xenia Police Division. So we'll go back to Mr. Merriman on this.
Thank you, sir. For several decades, the city's maintained a police cruiser replacement program to ensure the safe and cost-effective fleet elements are available for our first responders. Included in our 5-year capital program and in this year's approved budget are plans and resources for the replacement of 3 marked cruiser units for our police division. Mileage and hours data for all 3 vehicles was included in the agenda report materials. On average, we're looking at about 80,000 miles and 13,000 hours respectively on these vehicles, which range in age from model years 2017 to 2018. The preferred replacement vehicle model is a Ford Explorer Police Interceptor, which has been our preferred cruiser model for a number of years, and we're trying to get our entire fleet into that same type of vehicle, which simplifies and is less expensive from a vehicle maintenance standpoint. In terms of options to resource the replacement vehicles, we have encountered a first of its kind, at least in my career with the city in public service. There was no state bid for police cruisers this year. It simply is not cost effective for dealers to submit a state bid because the supply is so limited. They can sell these vehicles literally as soon as they get it. They don't have to sell in quantity at discount. And that creates a real problem for us because it's just a lack of availability generally for this important piece of equipment. The police division has secured a place in line for 3 2023 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor vehicles. This is with Lebanon Ford. In doing research, we can demonstrate that the price point with Lebanon Ford is equal to or below the price for comparable vehicles at other dealerships. Pursuant to our charter, we are able to utilize that as a demonstration of competitive bidding with council's authorization tonight to not have to go through a more formal process. The total purchase for the vehicles is listed at $126,584.64. But I do want to just draw a distinction. We're not guaranteed we're going to get these. In fact, I'm going to ask the chief to come up and just give a little more guidance on that. We're kind of getting a place in line, but there are quite a few other agencies ahead of us. So I'll ask Chief Stutes to just give you a little more insight on that.
When I was speaking with Lebanon Ford, they said that our vehicles have been ordered, but we're not guaranteed to receive these vehicles. So I've talked with Key Chrysler, and they have 2 white and 2 silver Dodge Chargers that would be in late summer, and they've given us first option to refuse those if we do not want those vehicles, but that's not our first option because they're just not big enough for what we stick in these cruisers anymore. But we may not be left with an option to go back to the Chargers on those if we have to. So we're hopeful that the vehicles will come in, just not guaranteed.
So essentially, what we're requesting this evening is authorization to waive the competitive bidding, to move forward with Lebanon Ford to the extent that's available. If at a later date we determine that that's just not going to be available to us this year, we may look at exercising this option through Key Chrysler.
It's become very challenging. No one wants to sell vehicles to police departments because, as the city manager said, they make more money selling elsewhere. So it's become a challenge to even find vehicles.
Did Lebanon Ford give you a timeline of when they would know? Even approximate of?
Last summer when they did the big order, because they just order them, and as police departments need them, they can come get them. And they said they've had a couple trickle in, but I think we were like 60th down the list.
Oh.
So I don't even know if it's possible to get them this year or not. We're still hopeful.
Yeah, typically this is an agenda item opening back a little later in the spring. They've really been on it over the course of the winter to try to resource these vehicles, and so we're coming back a little earlier than normal, just so that we get your approval to pursue this process if it's available to us. As the chief said, if not, we may have another alternative. Although, we've been trying to get to a singular type of vehicle, which simplifies our maintenance. So it's not ideal to introduce a different model. So.
All right, thank you.
Chief,
Any questions for? Yeah.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but so for instance, if one of the three comes in, we would take the one and then potentially buy two from Key Chrysler. Then is that kind of the plan?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect.
We'd like to get the Explorers if we could.
Yeah.
So.
It's great to have a plan B. That's smart.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, Chief.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for either chief or city manager? All right, this time we'll move for a motion to waive competitive bidding and authorize the purchase of these 3 vehicles.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor. Do we have a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Dean. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, we'll get a roll call, please.
Councilman Scriven?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays? Aye. Vice President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is Resolution 2023-08. This is authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with the Greene County Board of Commissioners for Greene County Department of Building Regulation to provide chief building official and other building code enforcement services on certain projects. So at this time, we will go ahead and open the floor back up to Mr. Merriman to explain.
Thank you, sir. At council's direction, the city is in the midst of a transition for our building inspection services from Greene County Department of Building Regulation to an in-house service arrangement with National Inspection Corporation, having been contracted to perform those CBO functions and other related services. Behind the scenes, we have had a lot of work going on, and much of it with Greene County current service providers to facilitate this transition as smoothly as possible. As part of this, Greene County has recommended that the County Department of Building Regulation retain building code enforcement and oversight for construction projects that are near completion. And our staff agrees that projects that are near completion should stay with the county in the interest of those applicants having continuity. Most of these private sector building projects should be complete within a few days or weeks. And are largely just awaiting final inspection function. So we think it is in everyone's best interest to keep some of those with the county. City and county staff have also identified several other upcoming projects or projects that are early in their process, including the Greene County Adult Detention Center expansion, Greene County Media Room addition, the Greene County Jail project, the Greene County Greenhouse, and some other private functions that we think, I shouldn't say private, some other county functions that we think would be best served if the oversight of the building inspection function stayed with Greene County. So essentially what we have done with our law director's assistance is draft this professional service agreement that would extend authorities through the agreement to Greene County Building Inspection for oversight of these specific projects as listed in the agreement for a set term. And that way it would facilitate, again, what we think is relationally with the county a good arrangement and allow them to finish out their projects. We are presenting the resolution this evening that would authorize execution of that. In fact, just today, working with the law director, I think we've got a final draft of that agreement. So again, this is urgent for us to get executed now because we are approaching that date of a formal transition for the services, and we want to lock down these final details.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Merriman regarding the transition on the building inspection? Yes.
Just to clarify, in the agreement, it lists those 4 projects specifically.
It lists the projects specifically that would stay with the county, yeah. Now, what the agreement also says is any other private projects that at their request would like to stay, we would make accommodations for that too. But again, most of these projects are county-related
When
projects.
you say private projects, you're talking private to the county? Or
Private
just
sector.
Sector, okay, not,
Yep.
because right now it's all their projects.
Yeah, and you know, again, there are a number of other projects that are public and private that are not necessarily, you know, they're well underway, but we've had conversations with those individual entities, and in large part, I think they want to make the transition. You know, you've seen some of the projects. The junior high school is a good example.
Sure.
That's a long-term project. They're well into it, but they have a long way to go. Makes sense at their request to come over. So again, we're trying to, you know, to strike an agreement here that accommodates the county in certain ways, but also taking customer preferences into account too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Councilman Scrivens.
Mr. City Manager, I noticed that we have not applicable for the budgetary impact.
So, relative to these, the county has already received fee revenue for a lot of the projects that have not been finalized out. And so, you know, in some cases, it makes sense for those projects to be retained by the county, because anything that the city takes on under the services of NIC, if there isn't new fee revenue, we would have to make NIC whole for any cost associated with their added services that would be sort of on the back end after the fees have already been remitted to the county. So again, we try to take steps to make this as budget neutral as possible. Again, that was a consideration, but not the consideration in all of this. Customer convenience really in relationship with the county, I think, has driven the process more than anything.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Merriman? All right, seeing none, who would care to make a motion authorizing this service agreement?
So moved.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Branham
I'll second.
and seconded by Councilwoman Dean. Any further discussion? All right, seeing no others, we'll go ahead and get a roll call, please.
Councilman Scrivens.
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean. Aye. Councilman Branham.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays. Aye. Vice President Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a opportunity for appointed official reports. We have our appointed officials to my right. So at this time, we'll start with our finance director, who's sitting in for our chief finance director, Mr. Jason Lake. Do you have anything for us tonight?
I don't have anything for you tonight.
All right, anyone have any questions for finance? Other than you're gearing up for tax season, right?
Well, Rita will be.
Rita
with
is,
us.
yeah.
We'll be there to support them if they need any help and stuff.
All right, thank you very much. If there's nothing else for Mr. Lake, we'll move on to our law director tonight.
One thing I wanted to share with council this evening, we received notice from the Greene County Common Police Court yesterday. The property at 291 East 2nd Street, if you'll recall, that's the property we filed the criminal nuisance abatement on and have boarded up. That has gone through tax foreclosure. It did not sell after being offered for sale twice. So we received notice from the court offering to forfeit that property to us. I will be filing a motion to accept that forfeiture. Once the entry and deed are actually filed, then we'll come back to council and you can direct us on what you would like us to do with that property.
That's great. Good job.
All right, who has questions for the law director tonight? All right, thank you. All right, thanks for your report. Next is our city manager, Mr. Merriman.
Yeah, just two items this evening. First, a little more clarification on the building inspection transition. The formal transition is set to take effect on February 21st. However, we have all of our systems in place, and we are now able to begin accepting any new submittals for projects. A lot of work by the staff, and I want to give thanks to Jared Holloway and Brian Forstner and others on our staff who have created the digital infrastructure to be able to facilitate this. Set up the administrative workflow and processes, set up the arrangements with NIC, and we're excited to provide a high-quality service. And so please hold us accountable to that, because our expectation is that this will be an enhancement for our community that will make doing business and investing in our community that much easier. Second, we are scheduled with council leadership's approval to do a special session next Thursday. We do have our Public Service and Utility Committee's meeting that's set to start, I believe, at 4. We should have that done by 5:30 with the intent that we would start the special session at 5:30. So we will try not to make that a terribly long evening, but we do have some pressing and positive information we need to convey to council that night. So that is all I have this evening.
All right, thank you. Anyone have anything for Mr. Merriman tonight?
One other item. Thank you for reminding me. We will be closed February 20th for President's Day. And so we remind folks that if they have business with the city that day, to make, or around that time, that they are making adjustments for that. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is council comments and reports. Before we go to council comments and reports, out of the courtesy for your time, I want to acknowledge Ms. Hunter. So normally after audience comments, we don't comment on, because we don't want to create a debate banner type situation. But on behalf of the City Council, I welcome you and your business to Xenia. I wish you nothing but the best of luck. And that, if I'm right, is that next to Sebby's?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm very thankful for Laundromat there. And welcome you to our community. Nothing saddens me, or probably the rest of the council, more than when there is disruptive behavior and damage to your business and property. So, and I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but we have our police chief tonight in the audience. I'm sure you're welcome to talk to him if you feel like you don't have resolution with the police department, who's unfortunately had to visit you since you've been open in 5 days. And then as far as questions for President Urschel, he'll be here in 2 weeks at our regular meeting. You're certainly welcome to give us a report, address him at that meeting, or talk to him personally. I can't speak on behalf of Bridges of Hope, but on their internet, I do know that they are, let me pull this up here, they are open 6 p.m. to 8 a.m., and then from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., they operate something called a day hub, Monday through Friday, and 8 to noon on Saturdays and Sundays. I do know that they are just one, unfortunately, of many social service agencies that we have in Xenia, and they are one of them. I don't know what's going on in your shopping center down the door from that. I can't speak to that, but certainly I'm sure you can work that out. So again, thank you. I just want to let you know your comments are appreciated, and thanks for coming tonight to the meeting. All right, so we're going to move on to council comments and reports. At this time, we'll start to my left, and we'll start with Councilwoman Dean.
Nothing bad.
All right, thank you. Councilman Scrivens.
Thank you, Mr. President. Number one, we want to congratulate Officer Johnson on his retirement. And Xenia police officers, good ones are hard to find. And we wanted to keep you as long as possible, but I know how that retirement check looks. Just want to thank him for his service, and we appreciate him. We see him at the athletic events and everything, and just want to publicly say thank you, sir, for the job that you do for us. On that note, the Xenia girls basketball team, the varsity, they're playing their first tournament game tonight over at Vandalia Butler. So we wish them well. Go Lady Bucks. Want to express condolences to the family of Mrs. Lucy Johnson. She passed this last week right after her son, Poncho, passed the week before. So that family's had a double dose of grief, and we share your grief and we mourn with you. terms of the property on East 2nd Street, I thought in the past, after a property goes to auction twice, in the regular auction, then it proceeds to a auditor's sale for the third auction. But I guess the county in its infinite wisdom has bypassed the auditor's sale and is willing to revert the property to us. What happened to the auditor's sale? That's usually
The two sheriff sales?
yeah, after the two sheriff sales. It usually goes to an auditor's sale after that.
No, there's two, on a tax foreclosure, there's two sheriff sales. If it doesn't sell, then it gets offered for forfeiture to the local city and the local school district.
Okay.
If neither of them take it, then it is forfeited to the state of Ohio. Once it's forfeited to the state,
That's when it
then
goes
the
to
auditor's sale. So
Okay.
this is the step before that.
Thank you.
If we didn't take it,
Right.
then the property would go to the state,
Very
and
good.
then you'd have an auditor's sale.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. And just one other thing, it's spring, and you notice with the high wind, we go get a dissemination of litter and leaves and all. And on that note, these 2 blocks right here in the heart of town, if I got to get my own broom and dustpan out, these curbs from North Detroit to Whiteman and then half of Whiteman up here to Collier, I mean, we need to clean these curbs up. It's just ridiculous. So if I got to personally get out there with a broom and dustpan and a garbage bag and the Xenia Daily Gazette, I'll do that. But in lieu of that, I'd like to see these 2 blocks here in the heart of town clean, please. Thank you, Mr. President. And
You get in shape for summer.
hey, do my heavy lifting. And then I just want to thank Mrs. Lisa Hunter for the investment and for your activities. Stay active. This is a persistent problem, and we're going to work with you hand in glove until this problem is resolved fully. So we want you to know that your voice did not fall on deaf ears. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right. Councilman Branham?
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations to Johnny Singleton from the wastewater treatment plant on his retirement. He's had a rough road to come from plenty of issues in the past, and came back to the city of Xenia and continued to work and retired from here, which is awesome. Officer, and I'm gonna mix up her last name, so I'm just gonna say Officer Allen. She retired as well.
That's right.
And appreciate her service. And then Ms. Hunter, I just want to say I went past your laundromat. Unfortunately, I don't use a laundromat, but it's a beautiful building, beautiful signage, really well lit. I will say from the perspective of Planning and Zoning Commission, and things could have changed with the plans, that sort of thing. I think a couple doors down, the volunteer, they're all volunteers that's been nominated to Planning and Zoning Commission. It was approved for the Hope Spot, which was previously on Market Street, and they're wanting to relocate over there. So that was approved for Planning and Zoning Commission, which has no council votes, that sort of thing. It was only solely approved by them. You can request the minutes from Michelle, or hate to put the city planner on the spot, but Brian Forstner knows a lot about that process and that sort of thing as well. So just as the previous Planning and Zoning Commission chair, I just wanted you to be aware that it's the Hope Spot, last I had known, that is planning on moving there. So that's all I got to add.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Branham. Anyone have anything for Cody? All right, thank you for that report. All right, Councilman Dean.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have anything else to add today.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Dean. And next we'll move on to the mayor, Mayor Mays.
Yes, thank you. I wasn't going to say this, but I didn't realize the Hope Spot was going there, and I can tell you they've been my neighbors personally down the street from me for several years. They've been phenomenal neighbors. So I'm happy to talk to you more about that and my experience with them. They've been phenomenal neighbors. And I have young kids, been very pleased. So, I wanted to thank Councilman Scrivens. I was out of town for about a week and a half, and he's covered some things for me.
I forgot about that.
Oh, sorry, the Doug Yates Karate Awards night, so thank you for stepping in for me on my behalf. I genuinely appreciate it. I appreciate this council. When I can't make it to things, who helps me out. Because of my being out of town, I was not able to attend MVRPC, which I'm the representative, but I will be back there next month. I did attend Mayors and Managers last night, which was in Oakwood. Nothing to report as far as the legislative report. We did hear from the CEO and chairman from Henny Penny. It's a phenomenal business in Eden that was very interesting to hear about. Our favorite quote of the evening from him, he said, "The reason they have such a successful culture is because they don't hire jerks." And I thought that was a great quote, and all the mayors and managers enjoyed that. So it was, and then he talked a lot about that, and it was a really good, interesting conversation last night. And I know this has already been said, but I also wanted to congratulate Officer Thornburg and Johnny Singleton and their many years of service to the city, and thank them for their longevity and their work here. It is definitely, they will be missed. So that is all I have.
All right, anyone have anything for the mayor?
Just wanted to follow up. We did attend the function there, the mayor had asked. Doug Yates, what is it, Miami Valley?
It's a big, I don't know what the exact term is. Do you remember? It's Miami Valley. It's an awards dinner, and there's
TA, but I don't know what the T stands for.
lot of people come out to receive their awards for that night, and we host it.
It was
here in Xenia.
134.
Yeah,
So.
it's a great night. It's a lot of fun.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you for covering for the mayor. So that's just about all we have this evening. We do not have an executive session scheduled for tonight. And other than wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, February 14th coming up. Keep safe, and thank you for watching. And I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Dean. Do we have a second?
Second that.
Seconded by Councilman Branham. Can I get a roll call?
Councilman Scriven?
Aye.
Councilwoman Dean? Aye. Councilman Branham?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.